Welcome to Eat Baila Travel. We are Jenny and Kevin. If you're new to the channel, allow me a moment to catch you up. We are two Mexican Americans from Chicago, and in January 2021, we decided to leave our lives in Chicago to search for a new home in Mexico. We started our journey in Veracruz, then onto the coast of Oaxaca, we spent some time in the Yucatan Peninsula, and now we're working our way through central Mexico. We create travel guides, food vlogs, and reflections of our journey, so if you'd like to follow along, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the little bell so you're the first to watch our videos. Throughout our journey in Mexico thus far, we've spent a lot of time reflecting on our identities as both Mexicans and Americans. For the purposes of this video, we use the term Mexican American to refer to ourselves as people who grew up with both Mexican and American cultures. And yes, we realize that the term American can include anyone from the northern tip of Canada all the way to the southern cone of Patagonia, but for these purposes, the term estadounidense doesn't quite translate as well in English, so please bear with us as we just generalize and use the term Mexican American for now. We were born and raised in Chicago and lived in Chicago most of our entire lives until we decided that our roots were calling us to Mexico. And since we arrived in January, we've had lots of conversations about who we are when people ask us about ourselves. Today we want to share part of that conversation with you along with a special guest, a new friend, La Karencita. Since we arrived in Querétaro and found out that fellow YouTuber La Karencita is here, we decided to reach out and ask her if she would like to join us for a video to talk about some really important topics. So we're really excited that she agreed to chat with us, and so far we've had a great time hanging out, and we wanted to share some of that conversation with you. So Karen, tell us a little bit about where you're from and what you do with your YouTube channel.
Of course. Well, thank you. First of all, thank you for having me here. I'm enjoying my time with you guys. Really, it's really cool. And well, I'm from Mexico and I make videos about Mexico, about culture, histories, traditions, whatever, everything you want to know about Mexico. I think you do the same, right?
We do something very similar. I think with our channel, we focus a little bit more on like how we look at Mexico from like this Mexican American perspective, where we grew up in the United States and we feel very Mexican, but there's a lot that we don't know about Mexico, and so we've been learning a lot throughout our journey. And one of our favorite parts has been connecting with people, and so when the opportunity came to connect with you, we got super excited because we thought, like, what a better opportunity to talk about some things that we really enjoy talking about. And so one of those things that we really enjoy talking about is identity and who we are, and you know, what we bring to the world as Mexicans and Mexicans Americans. So we wanted to ask you a little bit about your perspective as well. So have you ever met another Mexican American before?
Well, you're the first one who I meet here, tangible. I don't know how to say it.
Like in person.
In person, right. And I also teach Spanish, and it's very interesting actually because I've had a few people there from United States, and they come to me saying that they don't speak Spanish or they need to improve their Spanish, and when they're talking to me, they're speaking Spanish.
Are they like Latinos or from Mexican descent?
Yeah, they're from Mexican descent, but for me at first I didn't want to ask, you look Mexican. No, because I don't know, maybe he's from, I don't know, Europe, Asia, I don't know, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I found that, for example, their level is very high. They are advanced Spanish people for me, speakers. So it's very weird for me that for me I was thinking, they feel very humble. They're being very humble with me, but no, they really believe that.
I think what happens in a lot of those cases is people compare themselves to their other family members, or maybe they have family in Mexico, and when they visit that family, you know how Mexicans can be. We bully each other. We tease each other a lot, and so I think what happens is those who don't speak Spanish as fluently start to feel un poco de menos, like they feel a little bit less than, or they feel like they're not Mexican enough, and so they want to improve. But a lot of times that doesn't happen until they get a little bit older in life.
I get it.
But so that's a very generalized explanation. But I can imagine that if you're teaching Mexican Americans who live in the United States, helping them improve their Spanish, I imagine that a lot of them come from a background like that.
Yeah, and if, I guess if you don't know what's going on, I suppose that there's a whole background story behind it that I didn't know, and when I first experienced it, I was very confused because I thought, well, you are from the United States, I'm from Mexico, it's okay if you don't speak Spanish, right? and then I realized they told me the same that you said, that it's not the same, we don't feel ni de aquí ni de allá. So,
yes. I'm so glad you brought that up. And actually, if it's okay with you, I want to switch to Spanish. Just because there's just some things like que se te salen más, que nos salen igual con nosotros. A veces cuando estamos conversando se nos sale una frase así como te salió ahorita, tío, ni de aquí ni de allá. We feel that all the time. Like in the United States, we are often seen as like not fully American because we're more Mexican than American. And sometimes when we're in Mexico, the way we're dressed or the way we act, they look at us as more American than Mexican. Even my mom, she was born and raised in Zacatecas, and she moved from Zacatecas to Chicago when she was about 28, so adult. And now when she visits her hometown as a 60-year-old woman, people can tell that she's from the States. They identify her as being more from the United States than Mexico.
wow.
And when they ask her where she's from and like they haven't seen her in a long time and she looks familiar, she'll say, oh, I'm from here. And they'll go, no, you're not.
Oh.
They'll say, we can tell you're not from here, but she is from there. Entonces, una pregunta. ¿Qué opinas tú o qué crees que en general opinan los mexicanos sobre los mexicoamericanos?
Okay. Bueno, pienso que en general no hay muchísimo conocimiento. Mucha gente es ignorante y a veces cuando la gente es ignorante tiene mucho enojo por algún motivo y no sé por qué. Pero por ejemplo yo soy una persona que conoce o conocía hasta hace muy poquito dos términos, chicanos y pochos. Chicanos son las personas que nacieron en Estados Unidos y pochos son las personas que que nacieron en México pero que fueron a vivir a Estados Unidos. Y como yo, somos básicamente la mayoría en México. Claro que sí. Y no hablo mucho de este tema, al final somos personas todos, pero hay muchas opiniones un poco muy fuertes.
This is a safe space. We're not judging you. We're just curious to see what people think. So based off of what you've gotten to know, we've hung out a couple times before this, and you've gotten to know us a little bit. In your opinion, do you think that we are more American than Mexican, or do you think that we are more Mexican than American?
Okay. En la actitud, mexicanos. Y esto
¿Como
es
en la
algo-
forma de llevar y socializar?
Sí,
Okay.
muy impuntuales también.
We're late.
All of
Pero
our friends know that.
Yeah, we're always late to everything, but it's just
We're
part of
late to
the
our wedding.
culture. I know.
pero está bien porque
Ajá.
también.
¿Y en otros aspectos?
Yo pienso que que todas las personas que nacieron fuera de México no son mexicanos. Eso pensamos. Y bueno, pienso. Y tal vez muchas personas piensen así, pero igual no sé, no. Siempre son perspectivas desde el punto de que lo ves. Pienso. Pero no sé.
Ok. Muy interesante, gracias. ¿Y para ti qué caracteriza a un mexicano?
Para mí, esa es buena pregunta. Pienso que, si lo quieren muy objetivo, es que nacieron aquí. Si lo quieren muy romántico, podría ser como la gente que que sabe de las tradiciones, cultura, que le gusta, que aprecia estar aquí y o sea, es como hay un dicho, dicen que hay un dicho que el mexicano nace en donde se le da la chingada gana, ¿no? Y después, ahora entiendo, estoy entendiendo. Es un dicho muy mexicano y todo el mundo lo dice, pero después vuelvo a lo mismo, mucha gente que habla específicamente de los mexicanos, mexicoamericanos y tienen opiniones súper fuertes.
¿Tienes otros ejemplos de esas opiniones que has escuchado, aunque no sean tuyas?
Sí, hice hace poco cuando los conocí, quería saber un poco más de cómo tratarlos.
O sea, cómo
cómo acercarme. Para empezar, el idioma es complicado, no sé, es algo que pasó en mi mente. No lo juzgué, pero es algo
como que no sé si hablarles en inglés o en español, o cómo.
Sí, pero pensé al final me siento cómoda en español, voy a hablar en español.
Ajá.
Pero bueno, esa es una. Y muchos dicen que no saben nada de la cultura en México, que no tienen ni idea y siempre hablan mucho del idioma en específico.
¿Por el spanglés o hablar el español muy quebrado?
Sí, siempre dicen eso.
Uh-huh. O sea, ¿y qué dicen sobre eso? ¿Se burlan de eso o cómo es?
Sí, mucha gente se burla de eso, mucha gente no lo considera apropiado. He notado que más bien piensan que como si fuera otro grupo social, como, ¡ay, ellos! Y es
como muy apartes, ¿no? Son apartes.
Ajá, y pues entiendo que es una identidad diferente. He notado que ustedes conocen la cultura de allá, de Estados Unidos y de acá, y eso está muy cool. Es algo que yo no tengo, por ejemplo. O el idioma también, que es como que ustedes hablan perfecto. Ajá. Los dos y...
No, eso no es cierto.
Bueno. Sí.
Well,
sí, es eso.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Thank you for that. The discussion about like the language, I know is really sensitive for a lot of Latinos and Mexican Americans because there are a lot of children of immigrants or descendants of Mexican immigrants who aren't as fluent in Spanish. And a lot of people feel really self-conscious about that. And you're right, there are a lot of Mexicans in Mexico who judge that kind of harshly and will say that Mexican Americans are less Mexican for not speaking Spanish fluently, and that happens a lot, even in the United States, among families in Mexico when we come visit. So that happens often, and it's a very complicated issue that it's a story we can get into another time. But just to summarize that, I will say that from our perspective, maintaining fluency in Spanish has been a real challenge throughout our whole lives. Like both Kevin and I, we started speaking Spanish since we were born because that's what our parents taught us. They were recent immigrants when we were born, and that's all they knew how to speak. And as we got older and went through school, we learned English. English was our second language until suddenly we became more dominant in English. And then Spanish was harder to keep up with because we weren't studying it in school. We were speaking it at home, but it kept getting broken. And so maintaining Spanish fluency, at least for me especially, like I've had to work for it, like really hard. Like I've taken classes in college, I make sure to read books and watch novelas with subtitles, and just to maintain fluency and build my vocabulary because I didn't have that opportunity in school. I have this unique opportunity to grow up with both languages, yes, but to work on a second language and be judged for it is like, it sucks. That's Americans too. There are a lot of Americans who judge others for not speaking English perfectly. So I feel like that exists everywhere, and I'm not mad about it. But it's really interesting to hear it from this other side.
I was gonna say I kind of understand that, and it's not completely fair if you're talking to me because I just saw that part of Mexicans living in Mexicans because as I said, I have a YouTube channel and I a lot of people's. My YouTube channel is in English because my market is for foreigners who want to learn about Mexico, visit Mexico, blah, blah. And because I speak English, and as you said, I'm learning. There's still a lot of words that I don't know, and Americans, foreigners, they don't say anything about my English. They just say, that's so cool, you're making videos, blah, blah. But there's always a Mexican saying, ay, pinche morena, ¿por qué estás hablando en inglés? You know,
we got a comment like that too. We got a comment that said, ay, cómo tienen el nopal bien marcado en la frente y se ponen a hablar en inglés. And I'm like, like, what?
Are you jealous or
like, what? I can't speak the language that I grew up speaking now because I have a cactus on my forehead.
Yeah. And I don't think that's cool because we say at the same time, and that's something that I hate. We say that as Mexicans we're very supportive and we help among each other. But then, if someone else is doing something that that person is finally está tratando de lograr algo diferente, y el otro mexicano lo arrastra.
Hay un dicho, ¿no? Que el peor enemigo de un mexicano es
otro mexicano.
So, I mean, there's Mexicans on both kinds, just like there's all kinds of people in all kinds of the world. Like, we're not here to make assumptions, but this is a really cool conversation to have, to learn about what opinions there are out there. So I know that, like, because of your different cultural experiences, like you lived in Vietnam, you've been in the UK, so you're a very open-minded and cultured person, but not everyone is like that. And so I admire you for being open to talking about what misconceptions you might have and being honest about it, because we all do that. Even though we admit it or not, we all like have these assumptions of other people in our heads. But when we catch ourselves and allow ourselves to be open to new ideas, I think that's what matters. So I appreciate you for that.
Yeah, I'm having fun with you guys, and I love the fact that you enjoy dancing and everything.
Thank you. For the next topic, I want to talk about some similarities or differences between Mexicans born in Mexico and Mexicans born in the United States, for example, like us. So there's one very big difference that I've been dying to ask you about, because I noticed that some of my family members have a very particular scar on their left shoulder that that Kevin and I don't have because we were born in the U.S. So I was just wondering, if you don't mind, do you have?
Talking about la cicatriz de la vacuna? Sí.
You have it? Do you have it?
Well, not here.
Oh, it's the right shoulder?
Sí, es normal, ¿no? Todos la tienen.
Nosotros no. We don't have it.
Why not?
I don't know. Why do you have it? Like, because what is it?
It's normal. It's like the mark of your vaccine. The most.
What vaccine is it?
What? Okay. I'm confused.
I'm like an alien to her because she has it and I don't. I've always been curious.
If you're a Mexican watching this video, you'll know that this is normal, isn't it?
And if you were born in the US, you know that this is normal. So normal's different, but I've always been curious because I have some family who has it and some family who doesn't, and that's how we know who was born where.
Let me see your arm.
I know, right? What did you have for breakfast growing up as a kid? ¿Qué te daban de desayunar cuando eras niña?
Ok, pues eso es interesante. Tengo miedo ahora.
No.
Me daban, yo recuerdo que cereal, sí comía cereal, huevos con frijoles en salsa, no sé, chilaquiles, no siempre, pero es algo como especial. Y ya, creo que no puedo pensar en otra cosa.
Okay.
Licuado.
Siempre un licuado. Yeah, es muy común, ¿no? No te vayas sin tomarte tu licuado.
Ajá,
yes.
Sí. Como
super,
rápido, ¿no?
Like, I feel like that's such like a Mexican mom thing. Like, no puedes salir de la casa sin tu licuado.
Ajá,
like, that was always a thing. So that's something in common.
What's different then?
I mean, we grew up with a lot of pancakes. Like hot cakes. You guys call them hot cakes?
hotcakes.
But we call them pancakes, and so we make those a lot. But I mean, because we grew up with both, like we also had like huevos con jamón or huevos con salchicha, like very often for breakfast. So I feel like we had a little bit of both.
Yeah, I knew that in the United States you have a lot of like sugary things for breakfast.
For breakfast,
right?
yeah, that's very common.
So you had bowls.
Uh-huh.
Interesting.
What about like child rearing or like discipline? Like when you would do something, how would your mom discipline you?
Well, ahora creo que ya está cambiando en México, pero antes era como la nalgada.
Uh-huh.
Pero en mi caso era el cinturonazo.
Mine too.
Sí.
Oh my god, yes.
Me too.
Yes. No, well, for me it was like more threats, like más amenazas. Like my mom would like whip out the belt and just like go shh, like to like threaten me. Very few times would it actually make contact.
Te estás portando mal,
Yeah,
¿eh? Sí,
but like
pero
I
te
asked,
amo.
I know, right? Because I love you, I know. But like, unfortunately, like that's just a very common like Mexican cultural thing. And I listened to a podcast one time that was like the chancla culture, right? Like,
yeah.
que se usa mucho la chancla and like this really like tough way of disciplining children that is now changing. Both in the U.S. and in Mexico, but at least in our days, it was just normal thing. And growing up in these different countries, our mothers still had very similar ways of disciplining. Right?
You know, now that you mentioned La Chancla, I've seen in a lot of in social media, on Reddit, that another difference is we Mexicans said, no, La Chancla, we used to have that, but no ahora, es como eso ya.
Like outdated.
Ya, ya pasó hace años, o sea, y mucha gente piensa que eso de hecho ya es de Mexicoamericanos.
Oh, ahora es. So you're saying like the whole chancla culture discipline of child rearing is now more of a Mexican American thing
Sí.
than Mexican?
Sí, es como...
How about that? What do you all think? It's pretty interesting.
Como no quiero que me malentiendan mexicanos viendo esto, pero como ya no hablamos mucho de eso, no sé.
But we do. Like you guys, you say you don't talk about it so much in Mexico, but I feel like the whole chancla discipline is still very much a running current joke, at least in Mexican American culture. Like we talk about it all the time. You saw it in the movie Coco, right? La abuelita saca su chancla and she like but so it's like I feel like it is very present still in Mexican American culture. So it's really interesting for you to say that it's like not so much anymore in Mexican.
Al menos en los últimos años, es muy reciente eso. Pienso.
Interesting.
Sí.
Cool. ¿Tú tuviste quinceañera?
Yo no, pero era muy común, las fiestas de los 15 años cerraban las calles y eso era muy cool.
Wow.
Y invitaban usualmente a mucha gente.
Ajá.
No sé si hacen lo mismo allá.
Parecido,
Sí.
dependiendo de la familia. En mi quinceañera tuvimos creo que 450, casi 500 personas, casi del tamaño de una boda. Y sí, tuve mi vestido grande, mis zapatillas, la corona.
Pero no lo hacen en la calle, ¿verdad?
No cerramos las calles.
Eso era genial. Ya no lo hacen, ya no lo he visto ahora, pero sí, era muy genial hacer eso.
It's raining.
lloviendo.
Yes. That afternoon rain. This afternoon rain turned into an afternoon monsoon, so we went searching for shelter and ended up having an adventure. It had rained like this last week and the power went out, so we joked that it was going to happen again. And of course it did. For access to more behind the scenes footage during the blackout, join us on Patreon. Special thanks to our current Patreon members in the Salsa que Pica and the Salsa para Bailar tiers. That concludes this vlog for now, but stay tuned for the next one where we challenge La Karencita to some Mexican trivia. Here's a sneak peek.
Alright, so the first round we're going to ask you true or false questions.
Okay.
And just so you know, the loser of this game pays for drinks. Okay? Seconds to get ready. And go.